Welcome to Anneliese's Mixed Media Series for Beginners. Come on in, sit down, relax, and enjoy this series. And thanks for watching. Hi everyone, it's Ann. I'm here to do Anneliese's Mixed Media Art Journaling Series for Beginners. And I have to apologize, I'm a day late. Life got ahead of me. Anyhow, I wanted to show you something that I'm going to do with these. Okay, so you know how you go into the paint section of your home improvement stores and you can pick up booklets with swatches of paint. You can also get the chip cards with the paints, like these, for instance. All right. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to create something kind of abstract using some of these. All right. So I'm going to first start with a colorful background, and then I will show you what I do with these. And this is a great way of getting some free things and creating a piece of art using the swatch pieces. All right, so I hope that you enjoy my process and that you'll come back and visit. And don't forget to check out the Facebook group because I put all the things that I use in the files, all the supplies I use, etc., into the files in the Facebook group, and I'll post a link down at the bottom to the Facebook group. And I am using DecoArt's Americana Premium Paints. I noticed, I went to Michael's the other day and I saw them, and you can get them for like $2 and some cents each. Or if you go to their website, I think you can get them a little bit cheaper than that. But yeah. So I'm going to get started with my background first, and I'm going to use my old gift card to scrape the paint, because I do like scraping paint. I don't know, it's satisfying to me. And I like to kind of dry it in between layers, so if you don't have a heat gun, you can use a hair dryer, or you can just let it dry on its own between layers of paint. It might be a little bit of slower process to get the paint to dry, but if you're patient and you wait, then yeah. And don't forget that you don't have to have the same colors that I'm using, and my recommendation is if you have a certain favorite colors that you tend to gravitate towards, buy those first. You don't have to buy a whole set of every single paint color. See what look at what your favorite colors might be and go from there. So I'm just taking a Sharpie highlighter that's orange, and I'm adding some color on the paper part, what's left of it. Just make sure that your paint is completely dry or you'll ruin the nib. And, you know, don't worry, you know, how it turns out. Play, experiment with your paints. Don't be afraid to experiment. And that's why I like working out of a composition book rather than an expensive journal with expensive paper in it, because sometimes we tend to feel like we might ruin the pages of an expensive journal, and we're afraid to experiment and try different techniques and learn, you know, mix paints together, see what you get. You know, sometimes you'll get mud and sometimes you'll get different colors. So just think about different ways of coming up with different techniques, and the way you do that is by experimenting. Alright, so I'm going to take these pieces now and I'm going to create some kind of an abstract using the squares in this. I'm going to cut them all out off camera and then I'll be back to arrange them and glue them on. Alright, so I cut out some of the swatch pieces and I'm going to see how I will go about gluing them down. I think I'm going to use Celine's tacky glue since these are fairly heavy pieces, so that they stay down. So I'm going to speed through gluing these down. And I always like to come up with a saying for my art journals. You don't always have to write in your art journals. You can just have a visual art journal. But I kind of like to create a saying for my piece. So I find it kind of fun to use different things in your art. You know, it doesn't have to be, you know, perfect. It doesn't, you know, think of abstract art, you know, look at pieces, go online, look up at abstract art and get an idea of what abstract art is, and kind of create something out of the box. Think of things that you could use in your mixed media art journal pages that, you know, that are different. You don't always have to go to paints or draw, or, you know, if you're not the greatest drawer in the world or painter in the world, you still can slap down paint and glue things on to create a really pretty page. So you don't necessarily have to be, you know, the world's greatest drawer. Okay, everyone can draw. If you can draw a stick figure, you can draw. All right. So I'm going to come up with my saying here, and hopefully this will show up. If not, I'll have to switch to a different color, but I think if it doesn't, I can come back in with something else. Okay, I've bought these. They're called permanent chalk markers. They're by American Craft. And I got these at Target. And they're not very expensive. You can get a pack of 3 for I think under like $4. And it's kind of changing the color of my writing, but let's see if it'll stick out a little more because the camera's not picking up the lettering. I might go back in with a paint pen instead, so we'll see. We'll let this dry first and then I'll come back in. And like I said, it's all about experimenting. So I'm using a Posca pen, paint pen. But you can get Sharpie paint pens. You can get, you know, there's all kinds of other paint pens that are much cheaper than the Posca pens. Like I said, I'm trying to keep you guys on a budget, but if you want to try out some Posca pens, my suggestion is if you don't have a local art store near you, I would go online to Amazon. They tend to have the cheaper prices for the Posca pens, and I would start out with white and black, and then, you know, because those are the most common colored pencils. I mean, not pencils, paint pens that most people use in mixed media art. So to save you some money, don't buy the whole set unless you really want to buy the whole set and you know you're going to use it. So that is it. A quick, simple page driven to abstraction using paint swatches or the paint chips in your art. Think about how you could use it to create an abstract piece of art this week in your art journal, and don't forget to share in the Facebook group. Thanks again for watching, and I hope this will inspire you to do something abstract in your journal pages. Thanks again for watching, and toodles. Have a wonderful day. Bye. See you next week.